The prodigal son has returned. The Racing Addicts are back, and I am joined by my buddy that we have not seen his face in a while, Nolan. How are you doing, sir?
What's up? I'm doing good. Doing good. Yeah, last time I saw you guys was at the track in person, right? So
yeah, I think we were all mad at NASCAR leaving Charlotte together. I think that was.
It's been an interesting couple of weeks since then, both in the real world and in the racing world. So yeah, I figured I'm here to talk about it this week. But yeah, glad to be back.
Hey, we're happy to have you. You know, definitely want to keep it a semi-consistent thing. You know, it's
once a quarter or something. Like every 25% of the way through a NASCAR season, I'm down to hop on or at a track, whatever. Yeah,
and just be the bias that we all love to be. You know.
Yeah.
Oh,
I realized, I will say for the 5 people that know me and recognize me, my reasons were I just couldn't come up with new and fresh opinions every week. But I figure, once every month or two, I think I can probably squeeze something out for the fans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you can fake it. It's although the rest of our opinions don't really change. I mean, we just kind of recycle the same story over and over.
Yeah, I mean, how many times can I hear myself complain about the next gen product? It's like in short tracks and whatever else issue I have with NASCAR at the time. Fox, hey, the last time I was on Fox was something that I complained about, and they're gone. Let's start off on a good note by saying, NBC, thank you. I'm so glad you're back. You guys are as good as you've ever been. Maybe it's just, bias because I just got off of the watching Fox for a couple months here, but God, it's been such a breath of fresh air watching NBC. It feels better than it's ever been. I mean, I think they actually did get better this year, so that's really exciting.
I think so too.
That's a good way to start this off. I just like to say that is so refreshing and nice.
I'm 100% with you. And so I had that thought yesterday because we had the rain delay, so obviously like the race was already extended there, and then of course we had like the 18 million green white checkers at the end. And not only did we get the full broadcast without going to commercial every 10 seconds, we actually got like a 40-minute post-race show. And I was like, how crazy is this that not only like all the time they were on the air and we still got a post-race show. So
yeah, as long as you, the watcher, weren't screwed somehow by them switching over to USA because of the rain delay, which, we use YouTube TV here, right? You and I.
Yeah.
And
did yours glitch? Did yours hardcore glitch whenever they switched? Because it took mine 10 minutes to be happy about being on USA. But it might have just been my TV.
I was really proactive about it. I didn't have any issues, but what I did do was I immediately went to USA manually, just with the remote. And sure enough, it had already been back from that commercial break. And I realized maybe I was behind a little bit on the previous stream, which makes sense. I had it up for 5 hours at that point, it felt like. But no, I had no problem with it. You know what? The resolution was better too. So details aside, I love the fact that they had so many interviews at the end there. It was nice.
It just every week is night and day difference. And I don't know. I'm just, so we've been trying this thing where we just try to be really positive, So we look at the weekend and we're like, okay, what is there to be positive about? And some weeks we literally just talk about the Xfinity Series because that's it. But NBC, I'm telling you, just every week I fall in love more and more with that broadcast team, and I do kind of miss Dale Jr. to be honest. Who doesn't? But it's good. Good is good. I just can't be mad about it.
Yeah, it's worth noting. I don't know, maybe you guys have talked about it already. I'm sure you've mentioned it at some point. I mean, how could you not? But actually, with Dale Jr., his absence isn't felt as much as I thought it would be. And that's nothing against Dale Jr. because we love Dale Jr. I mean, he's really the best. If you had to say, with all the broadcasting in NASCAR, both Fox and NBC, I would say Dale Jr. is the best and has been the best. But in his absence, it's it's been fine. It's that much better of a production thing. And I think that goes to show that with NBC versus Fox, I mean, Fox does have a slight personality problem in the broadcast booth, but that's not the biggest issue, right?
Sure.
And you feel the difference from the production quality and everything else. So, but yeah.
What's
Rex happened yesterday.
Rex happened in the back of the field and we see them. Like,
while they're happening.
Yeah.
Not only like a quick replay, but like they'll be watching somebody and it's like they caught that and it's like it feels like a coincidence, but then it happens every week where it's like, wow, they really just caught a mid-pack spin or a crash, and it's like, wow. I mean, it's like they really have a good feel for like where they should be looking at a race.
Absolutely.
In the race. And it's nice. So yeah, I could go out all day about it. It's been really nice. But it feels good. You know, it feels good to feel good.
It does.
Yeah.
And I feel like I like that we have a lot to talk about because
we do.
And really, like, I think halfway through the race yesterday, we didn't really have much because for a while there, I was kind of wondering, like, oh, Nashville's, I don't know. I was not jiving on Nashville, honestly, for a lot. And we're very critical of the Gen 7 cars, so I even want to put a clarifier here. I thought all the races kind of struggled this weekend. Like, I think there's some weird stuff happening even with that track. And then the last half of the Cup race was just like, you know.
Pretty good, yeah. Chaos, but good.
I loved, you know, so like, how would you rate yesterday's race, I guess? We'll start with there and then dive into the craziness.
I think relative to the entire season, it's, you know, going to be like a little below average, and that really speaks to how good of a season it's been from an entertainment value standpoint. But I will say relative to my expectations going into Nashville, I remember just, you know, it stood out to me last year. I remember it. I'm a Ross fan, and he won there last year. And if you remember that race, I mean, what was it? It was the 19 trying to pass him for like 30 laps or something. And he was the faster car clearly, but because there was so much dirty air.
Yeah.
Now this wasn't a short track, so I don't know if anything changed as far as the package goes or what, but it just seemed like you could actually make passes. Obviously Denny tracked, I was thinking like, you know, before the 5 chaotic restarts and stuff, you had the 11 track and the 1 down. And I'm thinking like, well, if this is a repeat from last year, he's not going to be able to do it. But clearly he could. Now, Denny was definitely like the fastest car left out there in the field.
Yeah.
But he really had no problem passing him. It was wasn't that fun to watch though, as far as him blocking? Man, that was awesome.
Good. And I felt like, I mean, I think Cup was probably the best race of the weekend, which again, we don't often say that. So like, again, celebrate the wins when they come.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like Ross was able to like block, but there was a point where handling mattered because I saw like Ross tried to fade this block or something on the 11 and you could tell he just lost all handling and washed it. And it was like, whoa, like we don't actually see that often in the Cup Series. So that, like, it was weird. Like, there was moments of yesterday that were really good, and then there's moments where it's like, I really don't like this track. So, but like, yeah.
It would get a little next-gen-y, as we call it, where they got single file.
Right,
if they made it through a restart cleanly and didn't spin out too, you know, while they're too wide or whatever, it did get a little single filey, but you could tell handling mattered a lot. You had a lot of single car spins, right? And you had cars that just did not have a lot of center turn. It was an interesting race. And so to rate it, I would say average to slightly below average, but that's not, it came in above expectation. I thought it was going to be one of the more boring races of the year, kind of like in the Richmond category, but just because of single lane issues. But actually, it was really good. So I enjoyed it. You mentioned the Xfinity race and the other races. I watched the first third of the Xfinity race, and kind of to your point, it was so lackluster for me. The sun was out and I went outside. I just didn't watch it. And then John Hunter Nemechek won, so I was like, I didn't miss anything.
Clearly you missed nothing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's how I felt. So I really don't have much to say other than I guess that in and of itself is a little telling. I didn't stick around for it, but it was.
You really didn't miss anything. It was just, it was weird. Like the preferred line was moving, which is normally a good thing because it means the track's opening up. But then it like didn't. Like the line would literally just move, but then you couldn't go anywhere else. And then a caution would come out or like a stage break, and then the line would move again. And then it was just super weird. Like I don't. And I'm not a huge concrete fan to begin with. Like, I'm team every track should be asphalt. And I'm also team that most every track should have progressive banking.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. Like, I think Nashville asphalt with some progressive banking would actually be like an amazing speedway. But that's Oh, I guess another topic for another day.
I feel like Nashville with progressive banking would be just like a little bit of a bigger Iowa.
It really would, and I think that's why I like it.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, Iowa was amazing. So,
hey,
and New Hampshire.
That was. I mean, who would have thought New Hampshire was going to put on a good race? Like last week, still shocked me. I mean, the rain didn't hurt, but still, like
no. But yeah, just anything with progressive banking. And I've said this before. I think the next gen, for all of its faults, the best races it has are the ones where you have as many grooves as possible.
Absolutely.
So a lot of like your Kansas, your Charlottes, the races where you have multiple grooves, and what else? Miami, we know it's good there. And anything that's one lane, it gets exposed. But I really expected not much from Nashville. But you're right. I mean, it was weird. I think it's weird watching these concrete tracks. I remember seeing this at Dover, like in person too. Like anytime a caution would come out, all the cars would pick up all of the
that was super
tire
weird.
That was laid
weird.
down into the bottom groove, and then they just pick it up, and so it changes throughout the course of a race very quickly. I don't know. It's kind of neat. It's quirky. I'm with you. I wish everything was progressive banking. Can you imagine them like on the wall up there? That'd be cool. But
that would have been really cool. Honestly, it probably would have looked like old Iowa. I think that's pretty. Yeah. That's definitely pretty accurate. So, I'm gonna rate it. I was debating this. I was debating between a 5 or a 6. So I think I'm gonna go a 5.5 on my rating. Because there was moments, but then there was moments. So I'm like, I don't want to. Yeah, like it doesn't feel like it needs to be dogged, but at the same time, I'm not like, hey, give me more Nashville Super Speedway. So I feel like a 5.5 feels about right for what we saw. So
that feels really fair. I would probably give it the same rating. And I know I said maybe a little below average, but then you have to take into account the circumstances of this race where you had the craziest finish ever. Well, not really. I mean, we've had a lot of crazy stuff happen this season, but
welcome to the poop show.
Honestly, Team Chaos every week, man. I mean, I had the rain the previous week, and then this week you have the 5 restarts, which I didn't even know they had 5. This shows you I haven't followed NASCAR every year in the last 10 years, let's say. Like I used to watch NASCAR back when they had the green, white checkers, but back when I last watched it, there were only 3 restarts, and the third one was the final one, and then
right.
So I was so confused. I was like, aren't they on like number 4? And then they were like, this is the 5th one. I'm like, oh, so I guess that's done. A thing. I had no idea. I don't remember the last time this ever came to like over 3, right? Like when's the last time they had like 4 or 5 restarts in an overtime? I don't know.
I don't think so.
But it was wild. It really makes for a hectic finish because everyone that's on fuel strategy, I mean, just stating the obvious here, it's like you don't know who's going to win, and you know they're going to wreck. You know people out front are going to run out. They're going to spin out in front of the field. It's a crazy poop show, as you described it. When Zane Smith finishes second, you know something
that's
crazy.
The answer right there. Yeah. Well, the funniest part was, the 12 honestly botched the strategy call completely with pitting. And it ended up working out. Like that's how insane the overtime finishes were. Is like their kind of dumb fuel call ended up being the right call because he finishes P6.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking it's chalked for him. But like you said, I mean, by the time the 5th restart comes around or whatever it ended up being, it's like how many more people cycled through on those other 4 restarts and. Where did he end up finishing? 6th?
6th, yeah. And dude, he was coming. Like if for some weird reason they would have had one more green, white checkered, the 12 was probably going to win that race. Because,
I believe you.
Yeah. Because I mean,
there wasn't a lot of talent in front of 6th place.
No. And he was legitimately fast all day. Like he was top 5, top 10 all day. So like he wasn't a fluke car, whereas like pretty much the top 5 at the end of the race was fluke. It was like all fluke.
Yeah.
So
yeah. When you have all 3 Spire guys like hot in contention, you know something weird is going on. And I actually for a second there I had texted this. I really thought David is bailed. I just read the text.
Yeah, I just saw that. Unfortunately, old man got to go to bed.
That's all right. We're locked in. We got you, David.
Keselowski sucks.
Yeah, that guy sucks. Clears himself. No. So did it end up being TJ Major's fault?
Yeah, it was TJ's fault. Yeah, he called him clear, and he was. I mean, so it's hard because he was clear, but like they hadn't made the entrance to the corner yet. So like, I think it was just a misjudgment on TJ's part because I don't think he should have cleared him. So as much as I like to blame Austin Dillon, I don't feel like that one was on AD.
Yeah,
I think that was TJ, I think.
Yeah, man. So I don't know what my point was before I saw David's text, but it's something about Zane Smith, maybe the Spire guys. Yeah. I thought Corey was going to win it at one point. That's what I was going to say. Which
I did too.
Is crazy.
I didn't know what happened on that restart because I don't know if I think I saw that he had a tire going down or something. But
ooh, that sucks.
Yeah, like it was weird. Like they restarted and the parachute just came out. And I was like, something's not. Yeah. Something's not right. Like that's not.
I really thought like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the Corey win right here. You know, the first one. But
we were so close to celebrating a win with Mitch. Like
I thought I was close to celebrating a Ross Chastain win, or at least a second place.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
What a range of emotions. Let me talk about it for a second because you got to put yourself in my shoes. You know, first off, then he runs you down, and you're thinking like, all right, let's hold him off, and then he doesn't. And then, okay, there's 6 to go, and then there's 2 to go. You're coming to the white, and then there's actually a spin, and you're praying for that caution. Like, well, this is the only chance you have. And then I'm sitting here thinking, like, thank you, Austin Cindric. Like, you gave us a shot.
First time we've ever said that ever.
Yeah. We love Austin Cindric, but Sometimes. It didn't matter because Kyle Larson. Man, how many times? I'll tell you what. Yeah. If Ross doesn't make the playoffs and it's like really close, this will be the second time at least that I can think of because there was the Atlanta finish where William Byron spun him out and he ended up finishing like 28th, even though he was going to finish second or third. I think it was Atlanta. I don't remember where it was. It was the restart of a final mile and a half or somewhere. But my point is, this is the second time he has gotten a bad finish because of a Hendrick guy on like a green white checkered, which sucks, you know, for a guy who's trying to get a win. And it's like that the consolation prize would be here for me, and this is just my bias coming up. The consolation prize would be, okay, he doesn't win the race, he's not locked in, but at least he got points and he finished well, but he didn't win. He didn't any stage points. He ended up finishing well, he got a DNF, so really bad. So now I have to worry about him as a fan of his about whether or not he's going to make it. And I thought this was going to be like, you know, having won here last year, I thought this was going to be his best chance. So
well, and at the end, like he had speed because he drove up to the 12, past the 12, and even on that next to last restart, like he actually had a gap. And like the 11 was there, but he didn't have a whole lot of speed. And I thought, oh man, this is going to be Ross's day. Like this is going to be the repeat. Like, and then I mean, he had a shot on the restart. He got wrecked. Like he put himself in the right position. We knew the 11 was going to be tight on fuel. Blah 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 blah. And I thought
like his car was sticking.
Yeah, like honestly, I thought the 11 burned so much of his stuff on the run before that he was going to be in trouble. And then. I mean, Larson cleaned him. Like it's just, I think Larson got in his head thinking about trying to get into the 11, and he just.
Oh yeah. It's so apparent that what he tried to do was he tried to send in as deep as he possibly could and use up the 11. He didn't care what happened to the rest of the field, and he missed. He might have bumped the 11, but he totally missed the corner. Essentially, he just bottomed out. So. Oh,
yeah, well. No around that. I mean, he took the blame too, but without question, that was obviously all him. Like
those three, man. I mean, how many times have they cost each other a win? I mean, seriously, between the three of them, because think about the Darlington, Larson, Ross sent it in the same way he did, and he took out Larson and himself last year. So, I mean, these three just can't avoid each other. So, I'm here for the drama as long as he makes the playoffs anyway.
Here for the entertainment. Bring it on. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I'll say this: as bad as it is to be a Ross fan, or as anxiety-inducing as it is, it's a lot worse to be a Kyle Busch fan right now, man. I feel so bad for them and for him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what else to say to that because it's like, you know, the team chemistry is bad, obviously. Morale's low. The cars are handling like crap. Like when Kyle Busch is having a hard time driving your car, like there's some stuff. And
I don't think it's a talent issue. He hasn't fallen off.
And like he kind of had luck go his way for once, you know, with the pit strategy and everything. And I'm like, oh man, like Kyle Busch is finally going to get one back. And no, just there was one more in the bucket to come for him, and right into the side of that one car. I mean,
yeah, man.
Or no,
He
that
keeps
wasn't.
creeping.
I'm sorry, that wasn't the one that he got wrecked. That was the one that he avoided the wreck. The next one was the one that he got wrecked. And then
Yeah, it was the next restart when the 5 ran out of fuel on the restart.
Right.
Yeah, and then the 9 kind of spun him out, but it wasn't anyone's fault. It was just a racing deal.
Yeah.
But dude, I mean, it's reminiscent of Truex in the playoffs last year, where it's like, wow, how unlucky can you get? Like it's unbelievable. But
Well, it really
yeah, we'll
is.
see what happens with him, man. Because it's not like he's really overdriving those cars. I mean, he finds himself in the top 10 and top 5 the last couple weeks, but then just something happens every week. So
well, it's like you can tell he's maximizing what he's got, and that's the thing that you can always give Kyle Busch credit for is like he's going to give you 120% of what the car's capable of. And yeah, it's super frustrating. And
let me ask you this, you know, speaking of Martin Truex Jr., you could draw the parallel or the comparison because every year, especially, you know, with last year and then this year, you thought like, well, how much more does Martin Truex Jr. want to put up with that? Well, think about Kyle Busch. I mean, how old is he? Is he in his 40s yet?
I feel like he's got to be, right?
I feel like he has to be too. If he's not, he's been in the sport a long time. He got in it young, right? I mean, he's been doing this a long time. And you got to think, like, he looks tired. You know, he looks really, really just over it. And you got to wonder, like, if he stays at RCR, which I'm guessing he is, how much more is he going to want to put up with this if this is what happens? You know, I'm starting to feel bad for him in the sense that, like, this might be this could be like career ending if it just, you know, fatigues him enough.
Well, and it's no secret he hates this car. I mean, he's been probably one of the most vocal drivers about the Gen 7 car and like how much, which it makes sense because like Jimmy Johnson, when they started doing the super aerodynamic bodies, it took a lot of the strength away from your guys like Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr. and Jimmy Johnson because like their success was kind of based on like how hard can you hang out the car and keep it going straight.
Exactly, and putting the power down off the corner. It's like you need that power, and now it's a totally different era. And so was the end of the Gen 6 era too. Yeah,
absolutely. And so that honestly is the biggest thing. Like I think you look at the struggles he's had combined with the fact that he hates this car, and he's been very vocal about that. It serves the point. I mean, you might be onto something. Like this could be enjoy the Kyle Busch time while we have it. I think he'll for sure be back next year. But you got to wonder if next year is like he announces it's a retirement tour or something like that.
If it sucks like this for the rest of this year and the beginning of next year, it could be a conversation. Yeah. I mean, it's written all over his face. He's not happy. I mean, he doesn't do interviews. He gets out of the infield care center and he's on his golf cart every week, it seems like, because he doesn't want to talk to the media. Yep. And, you know, Kyle Busch is Kyle Busch. He's always been a little bit of a sour puss.
It was last week, I think, he literally drove the car to the hauler and like got out, walked right in the hauler, and no one ever saw him again. Like he was
really.
Oh yeah, and he's done that a couple times now, where he's just like, yeah, I'm out. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, what a time. So, well, we gotta hit on your boy here, your boy part 2.
No, the other one,
the other one. Carson Hocevar wrecks the 21 under caution. Unfortunately, it kind of looks like what we've seen before from him. So as a Hocevar fan, I feel like I have to give you the floor first. Like, what are your reaction? What's your reaction to this?
My honest reaction is, and this is going to sound so biased, but it's just the truth. So God's honest truth, I haven't seen anything since it happened in the race. Like I haven't watched a replay. I haven't followed up to see like what the heck happened. So all I have to go off of is basically what I said, which in the moment, which was, it looked like, and this isn't me like coping, right? Like if he did something bad, he did something bad. But like I saw it once on the replay and then I didn't see it again. It just looked like, to me, like watching it for one time, he didn't know he was under caution or something. It's like, why did he just run into the 21 like that? But I guess there was some indication, maybe you can fill me in if you do. Like, was he mad at the 21? Was this payback or was it?
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
So they played the scanner audio, and he was like, he was kind of defending his actions, but then he like started criticizing the 21, and basically his spotter was just like, "Shut up, just shut up, just stop talking." Yeah. So it was one of those where like I think he was starting to incriminate himself, and the spotter was just like, "Just stop talking." But
it's not good. I don't like it when people do that. I mean, it's one thing to give him a love tap under caution. I think we saw. Oh, the 11 do it to the 5. Right?
I'm great with all of that. Like if you want to come up and hit fenders a little bit, whatever. Like I think that's like to me that's NASCAR. Like I'm all in.
Let's just not turn into Austin Hill and what he did at Charlotte.
Exactly.
That's bad, and you should probably get suspended for something like that. So when it becomes a danger, you shouldn't do it. But Carson being immature, and we saw him at the Phoenix Championship race last year. I mean, he's definitely a little bit of a head case when things don't go his way. So uber talented, but he's got to reel it in. Definitely.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's got speed. I mean, he's the top Spire car most weeks. But it just makes me nervous because I feel like we keep seeing this out of him, and I'm like, come on, dude. Like, I just want to see you get past this. And I'll be honest. So this is my opinion. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but typically the rule of thumb is if NASCAR does not penalize an action like that during the race, it means they're going to drop the hammer during the week. And I have a feeling we're going to see a pretty good hammer dropped on Hocevar this week. No, I don't. In my opinion, I feel like a one race suspension is not out of the equation. I don't know how severe NASCAR is going to go. I don't know if they're just going to levy some huge points, fine, penalty, or whatever, and call it a day. But I think something's probably going to come out tomorrow on penalty day. In my opinion,
what was the penalty, or what was the what happened with Austin Hill?
He got, what was he? He was 30K and 30 points. Does that sound right? It was something in that ballpark.
And that was even more egregious. He didn't get kicked out.
It was bad.
For a race?
It was so bad. No, he did not. And that's where I guess what's hard is like, where's the line? So like obviously the Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin thing and the Bubba Wallace, Kyle Larson thing that we saw last year and the year previous, they were race suspensions, but like they were at speed right hooking, so it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Carson right hooked him under caution, so it's like, does that qualify as the same? So, because if it qualifies as the same, like consistency would say easily make it a one-race suspension, but obviously your speed is a third of what you're going under green. So I don't know, like maybe just a big old fine is sufficient. I don't know, but
I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, like I'm super curious to see what drops tomorrow because if they would have penalized him during the race, I wouldn't have thought anything about it. But the fact that they did nothing, I feel like something like the hammer's going to drop or something today or tomorrow.
That makes sense to me. Honestly, in any other racing series, and just as an aside, I've been watching a lot of other racing series just very casually, not too much, but just enjoying it. And I realized, like, if this would have happened in any other racing series, like, say the FIA was the governing body of this race, you can't. Oh my gosh! If you would do something like that under a yellow, you would be taken out, and you'd lose your license. Yeah. Like, you really would be in trouble because they take that stuff so seriously, especially on road courses. You know how like they'll have like sector cautions, on some of the bigger tracks or whatever. Like they expect you, and they police this. They expect you to really govern yourself, get down to the speed you're supposed to be at. And if you do something like unsafe in a yellow, whether it's a full course or it's a sector, I mean, you're in big trouble because I literally know of an instance where at the Nuremberg 24 hours where a guy literally lost his seat because in one of the sprint races or something just prior to the race, he actually did something where he just all he did was speed. Hey, you have a cat too.
I have a cat too. Sorry, he attacked me mid-conversation.
That's okay. Anyway, the guy actually lost his racing license for the weekend. I don't know if he'll ever get it back. GT4.
Well, and I should clarify, like I don't ever want to get to that point because there's a little bit of that like payback revenge that is so good, and that's why like I'm all for the whole rubbing fenders, like all that kind of stuff. So
have at it, boys.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I get conflicted, because I want that, but I also want consistency. So it's like I see the actions of Hocevar, and then I see the actions of other drivers that did similar things. So it's like I want to see that consistent, but at the same time, like as a race fan, I love seeing drivers get pissed off at each other. Like that's Like, I would never want the FIA ever. Like, I don't even want them in F1. Like, please don't even come to a NASCAR race. Like, because they might get ideas. So yeah, it's it's just I'm torn. I feel like something has to come down on Carson this week. I just whatever it is. Yeah, I'm good.
I would think so. Yeah, if it was actually like intentional, and I believe you when you say it is, then yeah, I mean that's bad. I mean, I will say this. It's interesting with him. I really think this is the reason, this is my homerism coming out, but seriously, my reasoning for sort of wearing the 77 hat and saying I'm a fan of his is because I really think he's going to be, in a way, the future of the sport. Maybe I'm not saying like he's going to be the guy. I'm not saying he's going to be the superstar, but he's really
Kyle Larson 2.0.
He really could be, a top driver because I think he's that good. He just seems like he's going to outperform, like he has been, Inspire equipment. He's a rookie, you know what I mean? And he's in the top level. We know based on precedent that this stuff can get really out of hand, and it still doesn't have to define your career. Like, look at Kyle Busch. He right hooked the hell out of Ron Hornaday at Texas, in 2012. I think he got suspended big time. He got parked for the race.
He did. Yeah, he got parked for the whole weekend because I think he got parked from Xfinity and Cup that weekend. And
at the end of the day, he's going to go down as like a Hall of Famer and one of the best drivers in NASCAR history. So hopefully Carson does clean this up. But yeah, I just think, well, he's 21 and, being aggressive. I've always said being aggressive is better in Cup than being passive because of going over the line when it comes to certain things is important. And that includes pissing people off and telling people what you think with your bumper. So I don't know. I'm not for hitting people under caution necessarily, but at the same time, it's like in the bigger picture, I could see this being like a silver lining. And I think he's just going to keep making a name for himself, whether it's good or bad. I mean, Ross Chastain had the same thing where it's like, is this guy a villain? Is he bad? Is he a joke? And turns out he's actually a pretty good race car driver. So
yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think he's got a lot of potential. And had to throw one final little shout out for the Cup race. Speaking of potential and future superstars, Corey Heim, man, I think I expected him to do well yesterday, but he honestly outperformed what I expected from him. Like on a track that's hard to pass, a track where track position's super huge, and he's starting towards the back because it's like his only second ever Cup race. And like he patiently made his way up through the field. He made good moves. And obviously he got caught up in that wreck at the end, which wasn't his fault. It was just all the stupid came out at the end. And but up until that point, I believe he was top 15 like all day. I saw he was inside the top 10 at one point. So I just credit where it's due. I mean, Corey Heim really, really impressed me yesterday. Like I think he's a future superstar.
Me too. I have multiple thoughts on this. Surprisingly. One, great looking car. That's like one of the best looking car schemes I've seen all year. That Mobile One or whatever it was. They
do pretty well over there at 2311.
I like that. That was a great looking scheme. So that's number one. I did see in practice and qualifying. Yeah, I guess practice the other day that like he was putting up some speed, and so right off the rip you could tell like okay. Now this isn't his first Cup drive this year. So I went back and looked because I couldn't remember. Like, has he done anything? Well, he filled in for Eric Jones when he, sprained or fractured his back.
When he got Nemechek'd.
Yes, and so he was a back marker there. And so it makes me think about guys like John Hunter Nemechek and who else? Zane Smith, like these young, up-and-coming, promising drivers that are clearly in not so good equipment. And then you have Corey Heim. He sucked in not so good equipment when he did race for in the 43. But then you put him in a 2311 Toyota and he's running top 10. And it just makes me think like, what is the gap here in terms of manufacturers? And this is not to like take anything away from Corey Heim because clearly he adapted to it really quickly and he's a good race car driver. But it just makes me think like, wow, 2311 really is fast. That's like a dream ride. Well, so if that charter becomes available, he's going to be sitting pretty. And same thing with Ty Gibbs. Obviously he's a top 10 driver and he's talented. But then like you have guys like Zane Smith and well, actually, I would say Hocevar is the one example of a guy that's probably in not so good equipment, below average, we'll say, and then he's probably outperforming. But then a lot of these younger guys, it's like, dude, they look worse than maybe they actually are, and it's probably just because of the team. And in the opposite way, Corey Heim looks maybe a little better than you would think, just because he's in 2311 equipment, and apparently it's like really fast.
And honestly, that's a really good observation, because I think Zane Smith is the perfect example of the opposite. Like, obviously that 71 car is just off. And then you've got Corey Heim. Yeah, because, I mean, 2311 was good yesterday. Like, the Toyotas showed up ready to go. I mean, at one point, I think Toyota was, like, all but 2 cars in the top 10 or something like that. It was, like, I think it was the 5 and the 12. And then literally, like, every other car in the top 10 was a Toyota. And then Chastain. Yeah, so... He was definitely, like, it was the best case scenario as far as the equipment you're in, the speed that your team has going into the weekend. But he executed well, and that was definitely good. And we didn't see, like, the dumb stuff out of him that honestly we see out of a lot of the prodigies that come up. Because, like, John Hunter Nemechek can wreck a race winning car perfectly. Like, he's great at it. I'm not a huge John Hunter fan, as everyone knows, but, like, I mean, we see it literally every week. Like, anytime he's got a chance to do anything, he's the first one getting wrecked. So, like, to have the speed, but then to execute on it did really impress me. So props to Heim. I'm not willing to say he's the next Kyle Larson. I know I've heard that comparison. I'm not there yet, but regardless, I think he's going to be good. And every rumor I am hearing is that car that he drove yesterday is the car he will be driving next year. That's
okay.
The 2311's picking up a third charter, and that is the number, and that's the driver. So
that makes sense.
Well, it does, absolutely. And honestly, like, we've talked about it before, but, like, if your end game is Cup, Xfinity doesn't make sense. It just doesn't, because it's a superior product most weeks, but it's a totally different product than what we see on Sundays. So it kind of makes sense. Man. Yeah, just make the jump. So I'm
so
not even
interested in the learning curve. I'm so interested in the learning curve between an Xfinity and Cup, because you bring it up. And just going back to the Allgaier experience in Charlotte, just never knowing what would have been, both because of the rain out and then Larson was going to take the seat back. But, like, you see a guy who's a lap down unlap himself after he figures the car out in top equipment, so obviously. Good. And then you have Josh Berry, who got second. He started second on the front row this week. And I was saying to the group chat, like, man, it's interesting to see some of those SHR cars do really well, actually, now all of a sudden. But Josh Berry being obviously one of them, him and Gregson. And I don't know, it's interesting. Some of these guys where it's like, who is going to be good in Cup? And then how much of it is what team they end up on? You know, these cars are supposed to be hard to figure out in terms of, like, who's going to be best or worse, but clearly it does make a big difference what program you end up in. Because if you're at, like, in the 43 or the 42 and you're on that Toyota program, you are not going to run anywhere near the top 10. So
yeah, no, 100%. And I still say it was their choice. Like, I still don't understand Legacy, but that we've gone into that so many times, I'm not doing it again. Like, they joined the Toyota club and then they, like, willingly opt out of the Toyota Alliance program. And I'm like, wasn't this the whole point of you joining Toyota? But that's neither here nor there. We've gone into that before. I'm not going into it again. Xfinity, we kind of covered all the highlights, honestly. I wasn't great. The truck race Friday night, I don't know if you got to catch this.
I did not watch it.
Okay. The only part that I wrote down that was kind of interesting is Lane Riggs and Stephen Parsons were racing hard. And Parsons kind of botched it twice in one lap and put the 38 in a really bad spot or in the wall both times. The 38 gets back to him with Lane Riggs, and Lane punts him out of the way, and he kind of, like, slow spins, but then also, like, catches it. And then NASCAR gives him a 2-lap penalty for rough driving.
Oh, I did see something about that. I didn't watch the race. That's crazy. Okay. So if that's how it happened, that's insane.
It was
NASCAR.
I couldn't see one person that agreed with the penalty on Twitter and or on the X-Files. And I mean, I myself, like, I'm a Lane Riggs fan, so I understand, like, the bias a little bit, but, like, I didn't see. I mean, My thing was, if you were going to penalize Lane Riggs, then I want to see the same penalty go to Stephen Parsons, because Parsons roughed up the 38 way worse than the 38 roughed him up. So it was super weird. And then, parlay that even further into Sunday, we see Hocevar straight up wreck a car under caution, and then nothing happens. And it's just, I don't understand some of these race officiants. They just make calls that it's what were you smoking, bro? Was it good or what? I just don't even, I thought that was such a miss from race officiating. And that was, I know you didn't get a chance to see it, but I thought it was worth mentioning.
I didn't, but I mean, it makes me think of, it's funny you mentioned Carson Hocevar. I think of the Phoenix Championship race in the trucks last year, where everyone was punting each other, and as far as I can remember, there weren't really any consequences for it.
Sure,
didn't Hocevar send it in too deep? Then he gets punted as a consequence because whoever he pissed off, I can't even remember who it was. You probably remember. Because didn't they spin out Carson Hocevar and wreck him?
Oh yeah,
and he deserved it, but I don't remember there being a two lap penalty. It was
boys weird. Have at it until don't have at it. In which case, it was, and I don't. It could even be one of those that they'd like to have back, but I just don't even know how your brain even goes there. It is weird. I'm not a huge fan of how they have everybody and their brother officiating these series. So every race, you don't know what call is going to be what call, and cautions, and it's just weird. But
it goes back to the thing that I've always complained about, which is NASCAR is always going to be NASCAR, I guess, and I guess with a little bit of hindsight and perspective and zooming out, it's NASCAR is so good despite itself sometimes. These races have been amazing.
Totally agree.
Sometimes it's in the midst of the dumbest, most egregious calls from race control. I think of the Denny Hamlin thing at Richmond, where they're just nope, not under review, even though he totally went, what is that? I don't know, stuff like that. And it's you can forget about it when you have these crazy good races and stuff happen. But yeah, I do wish NASCAR would clean it up. I mean, just 100%. But
100%. Real quick, we're just going to blast through some of the sprint car dirt racing happening. We do have the Pennsylvania Speedweeks happening right now. Actually, right now, they're racing at Lincoln, not Lincoln.
Oh my gosh, is it raining?
Probably. And we already lost. So it's funny you mentioned that, because Saturday night got rained out. It was supposed to be at Lincoln. But we did open Friday at Williams Grove Speedway. Danny Dietrich took home the victory. Saturday night, unfortunately, rained out at Lincoln. And then yesterday at Babs Motor Speedway, Danny Dietrich also took home the victory. So 48 car, I have a diecast here somewhere, with the 48 sprint car, has been very fast at the PA Speedweeks. We had rain kill the Saturday night race also for high limits, which kind of sucked, because Saturday night I was really, really excited to watch sprint cars, and literally they all rained out. So got to miss all that. Tyler Courtney did win again in the high limit race on Friday night. He has been kind of stinking up the high limit field, honestly, this year, which is pretty impressive, because he's going up against Brad Sweet every week. So big props to him. I mean, they've just had bad speed. And then our buddy Kenny won the sportsman race at Baps last night as well. So
good job, man.
Yeah. Congrats. So we had some good dirt racing, and I am excited whenever we log off the podcast here. I will for sure be watching the finish of the race at Lincoln tonight for the PA Speedweeks. Anxious to see what happens. Honestly, Dietrich's got a lot of speed there, so I think it'd be really interesting if the 48 car goes 3 in a row at 3 different tracks. That'd be pretty sick. So, and then they're at Grandview tomorrow, and then I think Port Wednesday, and then at that point I forget. But I don't think I'm going to make it to any of the races, which kind of sucks, because they're all within a 40-minute drive of my house. But every night this week, I have some stupid event or something going on. So, but that kind of takes us through the dirt world. I don't know if you partake too much of the sprint car action, but thought
I've been more interested in touring cars and open wheel cars. I've actually been watching IndyCar basically ever since the Indy 500. Nice. I can't believe it. And then that's parlayed over into F1. I actually watched the F1 race. I don't know if anyone's interested in that. Now, I've been on record on this podcast saying F1 sucks, and I've dogged it. And frankly, it did suck.
Yeah, it's fair.
I mean, most weeks it did suck. I think with F1, actually, I guess it's worth talking about. I mean,
yeah, you watched the race this Sunday, so why don't you hit that real quick?
Yeah, and it was actually really rewarding. So that's the thing. It didn't have to be. And what I mean by that is, to state the obvious, the last couple of years has been Max Verstappen. What's the phrase you used? Scheduled tweet. You know?
Yeah, you're
Max Verstappen wins in wherever.
John Hunter Nemechek wrecks to bring out a caution, and Max Verstappen wins the F1 race. Yeah, those are the scheduled tweets. Yeah,
exactly. Some things never change. But actually, so in the F1 world right now, there's actually there's some catching up happening with, I guess it's McLaren and Mercedes. So what it is Red Bull is usually the fastest, and with Verstappen. But there's been some catching up, and the way it works is there's some technological advances that teams bring to the track every week, usually. And it's neat because, it's neat when it's competitive. It sucks when it's not, honestly. It's not worth watching.
Yeah, I get that.
Honestly, you know what it is? It's the racing addict in me. Like, I want to believe that F1 is going to be good. And actually, it so happened to coincide with this manufacturer equilibrium that's starting to come up here, where actually, so last week or yesterday at Red Bull Ring, Max Verstappen was doing really well. He was like 5 seconds in the lead, but then he had a bad pit stop. Lando is right there battling with him, and these guys are racing like a bunch of idiots. They're racing like they're driving stock cars, sending it into each other. They end up blowing each other's tires. It was a crazy last 15 laps. George Russell ended up winning. There were some other really good battles going on, and I'm just like, wow, this is really cool. So I'll be tuning into...
Felt like a green, white checkered at Nashville. Is that what you're saying?
A little bit. It had the same energy. Yeah, the same,
awesome. What
the heck is going on sometime with these NASCAR races where it's like, holy crap. But, that was nice to see. So it rewarded me. I will keep watching as long as it does, and I have the time to do it. So I'll be tuning into the Silverstone race coming up here. And then IndyCar will be back this weekend too. So,
which I'm excited. So frustrating enough, I've been trying to follow IndyCar, but they keep scheduling them like literally the same time as NASCAR. And it's hard because like I really like Scotty Mack and Joseph Newgarden, mostly Scotty Mack. I've really started to become a huge McLaughlin fan. And like, I kind of want to see what they're doing, but then they literally run the same time as the Cup race. And it's like, well, I'm going to take the Cup race. You know what I mean? Like, I'm more of a Blaney guy than a McLaughlin guy. So it's like, but it's,
I would do the
how's
same.
It been? Has it been good? Or
it has.
Okay, good.
Penske's been really good. So if you're, it sounds like you're a Penske fan, which makes sense.
All but willpower. I'm really not a willpower fan, but McLaughlin and Newgarden, I'm all in.
You said that before, and I didn't understand why. But like, as I've gotten to know the series a little bit more, and I've listened to him, I kind of. I mean, I don't know your reasons, but I kind of have my own reasons where I'm like, I'm not a big willpower fan either. I haven't attached myself to any drivers at all, really. I guess McLaren looks cool, but I don't know. Other than that, I don't care.
That's fair.
I missed last weekend's race too because the rain situation pushed it into. I was going to watch the race back to back, but then they had it on Peacock. I didn't have Peacock, and I didn't feel like spending $8 for one race or whatever. So, but they got the hybrid engine happening now for next race, so they'll have up to 800 horsepower, which I think is. I don't know if that's always on or if that's just push to pass. I thought they had push to pass, but anyway, I'm going to tune in to find out. So it's going to be a long Sunday. I'm going to watch a lot of racing.
Good. I'm excited. It'll probably be more entertaining. Well, maybe it'll probably be more entertaining than Chicago. Although, thank God the weather looks good.
We'll see. There's been a couple of races, including Nashville is a good example, where you're like, okay, the last year's race sucked. Now, I guess Chicago ended up being kind of crazy last year. Because of the rain and then whatever. But really, if it was just like a dry day, I think it would have sucked. Chicago would have last year. I don't know if it's going to suck. If it's like a totally dry day, is it going to suck this year? I don't know. We'll see.
I'm curious to see because it's, and I'm thankful for them. But the weather looks incredible this weekend in Chicago. I was curious. I looked it up today. But it looks phenomenal. Like the whole weekend looks great. Like I think it's mid 70s and sunny all weekend.
Wow.
So I think Chicago is going to get a fair shake. They're going to be able to have their concerts. They're going to be able to do everything that they wanted to do. So
good.
This will be the indicator. And I am still holding out hope that this is just the catalyst to kind of build up the market, and then we go back to Chicagoland. Which I never thought I would say, but like the intermediates work with this car. So
yes.
I want to go back to and honestly, that was an intermediate that was even decent with Gen 6. Because remember, we had the slide job between Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson. So like,
yep.
I think Chicago, and now it's gotten 4 years older, 5 years older, however long it's been since we were there. And that pavement's just sitting there with the sun beating down on it. So I think Chicagoland would put on a pretty banging race. And I'm hoping that is the plan for next year, that this race just parlays into bringing Chicagoland back.
That would be awesome. First off, the Midwest fans always seem to show up and show out.
Oh my gosh, they're
Gateway
huge.
is an example. Yeah.
And Iowa.
So I don't,
and Iowa.
And Iowa.
Nuts.
Oh my gosh. Which is not that far. So in my mind, it's like you should be able to get lots of people from that area. I know people love the race just north of there at the road course, Road America?
Yeah.
I mean, NASCAR should be as popular as ever there. And yeah, hopefully Chicago, I don't know if they're trying to draw more inner city people into it, but I don't see why they shouldn't. And you're right. I mean, as long as we are not in a Gen 6 550 horsepower package car, I mean, we should be expecting nothing but greatness from that track. So I would love that.
Agree.
Have you anything on the schedule rumors as far as
well,
have you seen any of that?
So we hit on it last week. So Bianchi dropped a couple that honestly like kind of shocked me. So the big one was there's two tracks coming out of the playoffs for next year, Atlanta and Watkins Glen, which is kind of like Watkins Glen didn't even have a chance because this was their first playoff race this year. But the ones going into the playoffs are the weird ones because. So Darlington's going back in, which is a no-brainer. Like, it only came out this year because of the schedule change.
Solid.
And Darlington being the first week of the playoffs is genius. Like, even though I still don't like this car at Darlington, I still like Darlington enough that I don't even care. Like, I'm still happy it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Average at worst.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'll still take it. And the ones that are shocking is we have Gateway apparently going into the playoffs. I don't know what they were smoking with that one. And we have New Hampshire going into the playoffs, which, if we can ensure that it's going to rain that weekend, I'm all in. But
got to install the sprinklers, man.
Yeah, those are the big schedule ones. I've heard murmuring of Rockingham, but I have not heard Bianchi say anything about Rockingham. So it makes me less prone to believe that because I know. Like, obviously, as we all know, Bianchi is like the end all as far as rumors that are accurate.
He's solid. Yeah.
Oh, he's so good. So, I'm being a nostalgic fan and everything. I would love to see Rockingham come back. Honestly, if it does, I'll probably go to the race.
Cool.
But they also just repaved, so I don't know how it'll race. I don't know how the next gen will do there because dirty air is going to be a thing. So.
They're 2 for 2 on repaves.
Screw it. You're right. Let's go.
North
Book
Wilkes
it.
was pretty darn good. And then Iowa was really good. So they should just finish that one, by the way. Like Iowa, they should just finish the repave.
Yeah, I was torn the week of, and I think I was mostly torn because my guy won the race there. But, like, I do agree. I think because even towards the end of the Iowa race this year, you were starting to see it get more boring because teams were figuring out setups. So I think when you go back, you have to give the teams more or the drivers more options as far as lanes. So I say just get it done, and you can leave the straightaways and backstretch. I couldn't give two craps, but in the corners, pave top to bottom. Give them the option. So, real quick, we're already kind of at our hour mark, but I don't know if you saw the Eric Almirola suspension from Joe Gibbs Racing was confirmed this week. And apparently he was suspended for getting in an altercation with Bubba Wallace. And
I don't know about you. I thought that was just a rumor at first, but I was surprised.
It apparently sounds like it was real. And listening to the teardown today, Bianchi was kind of walking through like what their standards are for releasing a story. And he was big on like, if we hear it from one source, we will not release a story. Like we have a minimum of like 5 people to confirm as a source before we will release any sort of article, which means for him to publicly release this means it's real. And multiple people are confirming it. So, but apparently Eric kind of picked a fight with Bubba and it got physical and they had to be separated. So, but he's supposed to.
Bubba confirmed it, right? At the track?
Yeah.
He said he wasn't going to comment on it, but.
Yeah. He commented but didn't comment, which honestly I thought was great. Like I was kind of impressed with Bubba's response, but yeah, it was.
It's all speculation. I guess the internet was ablaze for a little bit. The extreme sides of just use your imagination. People, what people were probably saying about if you have Bubba Wallace involved.
I know what our group chat was saying, but
I don't even remember. I don't know.
It's not podcast appropriate.
Oh, that's
Big
right.
Shot.
I was,
now
I was
all
giving
right, now
lesson
I caught,
on
yeah,
ghetto slang. That's right. Yeah, we were wondering if maybe he dropped some of that the ghetto slang or or maybe the Perry County version. We don't know, but all
Nailed
speculation.
Nailed it.
Who knows?
Yeah, not good. I'm hoping a lot of that's untrue because I kind of had higher opinions of Eric than that, but I'm not liking what I'm hearing from Eric so far.
Yeah, sucks that happened. Hopefully they all make amends and grow from it or whatever. I don't know. I have no idea what happened. So
seriously,
that's been pretty bad. So
yeah, not good. We talked about it before we started recording, but Hailie Deegan has been removed from the 15 car this weekend, and Joey Logano will be piloting the number 15 Xfinity car at Chicago. Immediate reaction. What's your thoughts?
I'm trying to think of Joey Logano. If it was an oval, I'd say instant top 15 car baseline. Not just because it's Joey, but because it's any replacement level driver. It surprised me. I was going through the list that you sent me and I saw that on there and I was like, wait, what is this? Like, you mean next year or do you mean like this week?
Right.
Obviously, we've talked a little bit about Hailie Deegan and her performance review. Frankly, she has not only not met expectations, but I think she's actually been worse than I expected. I mean, I kind of gave her the benefit of the doubt. She did the whole, I can't even think, the Tony Stewart series last year.
SRX. Yeah, she was great in SRX. Like, that's
she looked
why.
Great. Yeah, so maybe like that's more her thing. And maybe like, the aero fast high bank stuff's just not her thing. I don't know, man. What I can say is she's underperforming her equipment and has been.
I agree.
And nothing against her. I think I did say in the group chat, it hit me all of a sudden. I could outperform Hailie Deegan in her own equipment, and I'm not a professional.
Man, now that still feels bold to me, but like I'm not against trying it. Like I think let's just go for it.
That's just me being very confident in my hypothetical, totally non-proven racing abilities. But that's just the racer in me. I've always said my direct thing into racing is like me personally. When I see these guys go around, my brain, I'm thinking I could do that. I so want to do that. I thought that ever since I was a kid.
I would love to do it. There's no doubt about that. Like that'd be fun as crap. I'd love to get behind the wheel of a stock car and see what I could do.
And maybe that's as they say. Maybe that's my toxic trait is thinking I could hop into the seat of a stock car and run with them within a second. But Hailie Deegan does not run within a second, and really that's my point. So she's kind of a back marker. Yeah. I mean, she's generally bad. I don't know. So.
Yeah,
it sucks or whatever.
It's gonna be the big indicator of the car. Like if Joey hops in that thing and like immediately takes it to the top 10, that's not a good look for Hailie. Now,
who's her teammate?
She doesn't have any right now. It's a single car team, but Brett Moffitt ran that car all last year and ran top 15 consistently, like. Contended for wins, so it's. I don't think it's an equipment issue. So, but I from what I read in the report, this move was a kind of as a team evaluation. So I think they're trying to get a guy like Joey to come in, kind of like what Kyle Busch has been doing for RCR, and say like, okay, like, all right, well, if Joey runs top 5 or wins the race, the car's good. But if Joey struggles, then it kind of gives Hailie a little backing, like, okay, something's getting missed here. So
Well, it seems like they care about winning because they replaced their crew chief and now they replaced their driver and they want to do performance evaluation. So obviously she's going to bring sponsors because she gets eyes and, that's fine. I'm not bitter about that at all, but it's a bit NASCAR's a business and, you can leverage that by being a good looking girl. Great. You don't even have to start an OnlyFans,
I mean, clearly we do not meet those requirements of being good looking. So,
No, unfortunately, I'll never be able to prove it based on my good looks. It's really sad, actually. It keeps me awake at night. But in her case, obviously she has, good funding, I would think. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
I'm told there's really good numbers behind her. So
I would think.
Yeah.
I suspect, right? Me not knowing anything. But if that's the case, clearly they're like, well, we're not just here to run, we're here to win, and we're here to do good. And if they're willing to replace her, that says a lot. So I find that interesting. It really took me by surprise when I read that in the group chat. So
yeah. Last few news items. Connor Zilic is rumored to be joining JRM next year in the Xfinity Series, which I'm all for. I've been really impressed with Connor. I like how he drives. I like how he handles himself on and off the track. I'm kind of team Connor on this, and I love JRM. So honestly, I hope he takes the 9 car and makes the 9 car competitive again. But I'm really interested in this. I'm interested in the JRM lineup next year because I was thinking maybe Quaffle would be a full-time participant. I don't know how that would look. Well, it's interesting. Pretty good. Yeah. There's been a handful of rumors that have Sam Mayer in a Cup car next year. Man, I don't know that I see it.
Where is he? Is he a Chevy guy, right? I mean, where would he end up, or is he totally a free agent?
I think he's a free agent. Okay. But even so, like I don't know where he lands. So I was a little shocked to hear that rumor. But you're right. Like who leaves? Because obviously you would think Quapple's kind of proven himself. Connor's kind of proven himself. Allgaier's there until he retires. That's right. That's pretty much a lock. So it's like, is Brandon Jones gone? I would say there's a good chance Sammy Smith might be gone. Maybe. I mean, he really hasn't done anything this year.
They've taken a step back from the way they were the last couple of years with, Barry and Gregson.
I completely agree.
Definitely different. Allgaier's holding it down. So
yeah, you're not wrong. And really, it's been him and Sam Mayer. I mean, Sam Mayer has been good in that 1 car. So
yeah, Mayer's been good.
It's going to be interesting. I really don't know. But I'm curious to see what happens, and I'm all for it. Like I am, like I said, I've been really impressed with Connor, and I like the idea of him being at JRM. And then the last little bit for our rumor section, the last bit I had, Homestead Miami Speedway posted today that they are making a quote major track announcement tomorrow.
Okay,
which maybe further confirms Mitch's theory from last week.
What was his theory from last week? I'm curious if it's what I heard.
So Homestead is getting moved out of the playoffs next year into a spring date. And then the rumor is they're doing it so they can upgrade the facility and hope to host the championship race in 2026.
Yeah, that's exactly what I heard from somewhere. Great. I mean, bring it back. Phoenix sucks. Done with Phoenix.
Oh my gosh.
We don't need 2 Phoenixes a year, man. I don't know if they're going to force that down our throats, even if it isn't the championship race. But good Lord, if we can get out of a second Phoenix date, let's do it. Well, definitely not the championship.
I don't think whoever is hosting the championship, I think should be 1 date a year. 100. Like I don't. Even if it's Homestead hosting the championship, they should go there once a year in November. I think that's just. Let it be special. Let that track be that association.
Yeah, and that's what it was. Obviously, in my young fandom growing up, it was like Miami's great, but you only get to see it at the end.
Back in the Jimmy Jam days.
That's right. He usually didn't win the race either. It wasn't until like his 5th or 6th or something that he actually had to win the race to get the championship. He never really won there. It was
what a flex! What a flex!
It was one of his, and a lot of times he had to outrun people to secure the championship in that final race, but he never really won in his first 4, which are the ones I was really keyed on. Which is so interesting, but things have really changed. Now you basically have to win the race unless you're Ross Chastain and you beat Blaney. Sorry, what were we talking about?
It's all right. Championship. See right there. We're good. Yeah, championship.
I'm coping because I wish Ross would have won a race this year. Shoot. No. My whole thing is with tracks and dates is there's so many good tracks out there, like Chicago, like the Milwaukee Mile. There's so many, like another Midwest one. It's like, what was the one you mentioned earlier in the Carolinas?
Rockingham. Yeah, exactly.
Whatever. It's like we only have so many weeks out of the year. And honestly, like how many double dates do we need? Do we need 2 Richmonds? Heck no. Do we need 2 Phoenixes? No. Bristol's justifiable, I guess, and maybe Martinsville, but like in Daytona. But like there's a very small list when you think about the opportunities for just variety, is really what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So,
and I 100% agree. I mean, I would even, as much as I love Darlington, I would even sacrifice spring Darlington if it meant going to like a Rockingham or something like that. Like that would, to me, would even be worth it.
There'd be some tough cuts, but I mean, hey, I would say Martinsville. I feel like Darlington's better than Martinsville. But
there's some easy cuts before, I think, that you can take care of. Like, but it sounds like Richmond's already lost their second date regardless. Like that is for sure gone next year from what I'm hearing. So,
man, what about Bristol? So this is the first year that we lost Bristol Dirt. I can't even remember. Was it a packed house? Wasn't that the whole thing? Was like people weren't showing up to Bristol for years?
They actually did really well this year on attendance. Now, what's frustrating, I don't know if you remember this, but the spring Bristol race, they had like nothing during the weekend. Like the first on-track activity was Saturday afternoon because the truck race was Saturday night, and then the cup race was Sunday morning. So they actually Sunday morning with ticket sales did really well. But their camping turnout was trash. And like
that's right.
And I get it because we even talked about going and we were like, well, why the flip are we going to go for a day? Like, why are we going to do 16 hours of driving to be there for 24 hours? Because the first thing on track was Saturday at like 2 p.m. And then the last thing on track was Sunday at whatever, 5 p.m. or whatever, whenever it ended. So, yeah. So it was a win and a miss at the same time. Whatever.
You want a real hot take? We don't need 2 Daytonas.
Well,
do you want to make Daytona like special? Just make the 500 or one race deal. I don't know.
Well, here's the real hot take. This car sucks on super speedways. Like straight up sucks. Like,
it's true.
Like Atlanta's amazing just because of the oddness of it, but like Talladega with the next gen car is one of the worst races of the year. Yeah. And so if we're Nixon, I mean, I'd rather just fix the stupid car. But if we're not fixing the stupid car, nix a Talladega and give us a Rockingham.
What do we need to do at those tracks? We don't even need to get into this, but now I'm thinking like if we just got rid of stage brakes at those tracks. Ooh.
Well, but the problem is the strategy with the stage brakes, I think, is the only thing that makes it interesting because otherwise well, I mean, unfortunately, we saw it in person at Daytona, but it's just 2-3 lanes of can't pass. So it's like what do you
can't pass and don't pass, right? Where they just 60% throttle. Forget it. I don't even want to think about that. I'm not even going there. We're staying positive. We're being good. I'll return for the next super speedway race. We don't have to worry about that for a while. Yeah, make short tracks and super speedways great again. I like your shirt.
And amen. Basically, make the rest of the tracks other than intermediates good.
Yeah, seriously, I was going to say and road courses.
Yeah, and all of them. So. But speaking of road courses, our last thing on the show sheet, we are headed into Chicago. Looking at our pick review for the weekend, everyone's picks sucked. I mean, they were good with like 2 laps to go, and then all of our picks went to total crap after that because of the poop show.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I can't imagine why. Although my pick, I don't know. I thought Bowman was going to be it, man, and he just wasn't. It wasn't it. But Chicago. Who do you have on your radar this weekend in Chicago? Who do you think is going to get it done?
Gut reaction, give me Tyler Reddick. I mean, the guy's a phenom. He's a phenom on the road courses. Now, this isn't your traditional road course, but I don't care. I think him turning left and right, he's got the right equipment. He's doing pretty well. Give me Tyler Reddick.
I like it. Yeah. I like it, and that's a really solid pick. Tell you what, just right off the cuff, I did zero preparation for this question. Sorry. I sent you the show sheet like 2 seconds before we started recording.
No, that's okay. Yeah. It's a raw gut reaction. It's honest.
I think I'm going to go Christopher Bell. Guy's had a lot of speed lately. I think momentum is king. And I think the Yoders are going to be strong here. So I think Christopher Bell's the best Toyota right now. So I'm going Christopher Bell.
Even though it's a road course, you're just saying this guy's good and the equipment's so good that you got to pick Bell?
Well, but am I way off? Bell's good at road courses, isn't he? I think he's got a pretty solid track record. I know he's won a handful of them. So
that's a good question. Like, who are the guys you think of as being good at road courses? Like, I think of McDowell as being pretty good.
He's going to wreck himself with 5 to go, though. That's what he does.
He does tend to fade in the middle of the race, doesn't he?
That's his new, we have to go for the win.
I assume we're going to have Allmendinger in this race. I haven't checked, but like, let's just assume we have Allmendinger. You have the 97. I mean, that's a guy.
Yeah, that's... And I believe we have SVG, do we not? I'm pretty sure we have SVG.
That's what I meant by the 97. Sorry. Actually, I don't even know if he probably wouldn't even be in the 97. It'll be in the 16. I'm getting confused with his Xfinity car. Yes, I meant SVG when I said that.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
The new Allmendinger.
Yeah, the other Allmendinger. Which is the new Marcus Ambrose. So, I mean.
Yes. Yeah. He hates Austin Hill, so we like him.
Hell yeah, that's right.
Oh my gosh. No, gonna be interesting. I'm excited for Chicago to get a fair shake, to see what we can see. Gonna be interesting to follow. And again, I'm just hoping this parlays into Chicagoland being on the 2025 schedule, because that's really what I want. I am not a fan of street course racing. So let's just hope this parlays that down, and let's hope I'm wrong and that the race is amazing. Because I've been wrong before, and I'm happy to be wrong again.
Agreed. So. I mean, because that really does track with kind of how I expect it to go. I expect it to be a little one-laney and hard to pass if there's no rain, and not nearly as interesting as last year. But I've been wrong, as I said, about a couple tracks this year where they actually improved. I don't know why. Maybe it's Goodyear. Maybe it's the car. I guess they don't have the strakes under the bottom anymore, the road courses. So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Hey, backup plan, bust out the sprinklers. Any final thoughts there, Nolan, before we sign off on this episode?
I had one question, which was related to Connor Zilic. I was just curious if he was going to still be a Trackhouse driver in terms of like the contract, because you said JRM. I wasn't sure if he was going
to. That's a great question, because honestly, I totally forgot he was with Trackhouse.
Yeah, he's under contract with them. So you have SVG, him, Ross, and Daniel. Daniel was kind of on the hot seat, but then he won that goofy Atlanta race, and now it puts them in a weird position, because in my mind it's like, okay, say they get a third charter, you're going to bring SVG up. Ross isn't going anywhere. If Connor is good sooner rather than later, you got to be looking at Suarez as like the odd man out. But I don't know if Zilic is even going to be a Trackhouse guy, and maybe I'm thinking too far down the road. It might take a couple years of Xfinity with Zilic. It might not. I don't know. They're sending guys up the cup pretty quick. And to your point, there's really not a point in staying in Xfinity if your goal is to get in the cup. So
yeah,
it's all very interesting to me. I'll have to look more into that and see what his contract situation is. If that, and we'll find out. So.
Yeah, no, it's a good thought, because it could be like the SVG thing, where like SVG is driving a College car right now in Xfinity, but it's a Trackhouse funded College car. So maybe we have a.
And I forgot a guy. I totally forgot about Zane Smith, who technically is a Trackhouse guy, which I don't know what they think of him at this point. He sucks. He's the worst Spire driver right now. He's actually underperforming Spire equipment, which is hard to do. And I think he's a really good driver, and obviously Trackhouse did too, but it does have me wondering, what is his future? Because, and then with Trackhouse in general, what's the future?
I really, and this seems like a hot take, I think he's safe. I think you look at some stuff that's happening there, and I don't know that he's getting a fair shake at Spire. And
where does he go, though? Because McDowell is definitely going to be taking a spot there, right? He's probably taking the 71.
Yeah, but I feel like Trackhouse is still rumored to pick up a third charter, so I think they may bring Zane Smith in-house next year.
So SVG stays in Xfinity for another year?
I think so. I think that's what I'm leaning towards. So I don't know. I mean, it is tough, because like Trackhouse has like 5 drivers right now and 2 charters. So someone's going to be upset. 2 people are going to be upset, to be honest.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, that's sort of what I'm thinking of when you mentioned the Connor Zilic news, him moving up. He deserves it. I think he's proven, in the short amount of time that he's driven, I think he's proven it. I'm all about get the fast people, the promising people up as fast as you can. F nepotism, and any ride that's being currently hogged by a guy that sucks, Burton.
Yeah,
you know how I feel about that. But anyway,
he's gone. I haven't heard one rumor that keeps him in the Cup Series next year. So
yeah, who do you think's taking the 21 actually?
I think the rumor I hear the most, and honestly, it's the one I'm most excited about. So that's probably why I hear it the most. Is Rodney Childers and Josh Berry go to that 21 next year?
That could be good if they have that RFK juice. That'd be cool.
On. Well, and that 21 is a Penske car. So I mean,
that's right. It's Penske. I was thinking they were the RFK guys.
Yeah,
that's McDowell.
It's a Wood Brothers racing car.
That's right.
Is permanently done in the Penske shop. So for me, as like a Blaney fan, who's in the Penske shop, like I get excited about a guy like Rodney Childers and Josh Berry coming into the organization because like I think
they're promising, man.
Oh my gosh. And them as a duo, like I think they bring so much to the table that I'm all in. I'm 100% in. Like, so that's selfishly what I'm hoping for. I've heard Chase Briscoe was the popular one in the 21, and obviously with him going to JGR, it kind of ruined that rumor. So
yeah, how do you feel about that? Are you like
shocked?
Yeah.
Shocked. I cannot, like, because Ford was kind of his main backer for so long that I'm shocked that Ford let it happen. I don't know that I love Briscoe. He feels like a driver that overdrives when the moment counts a lot. So, but still, like I felt like it was probably worth saving. But maybe they're going to put some money behind Childers and Berry because they've got a couple guys they cannot afford to lose. I think Noah Gragson, Ford needs to fight to keep for sure, and their seats like. FRM's got 2 open seats right now for next year. So like there's an easy landing place. And I think the Berry Childers combo is just such a big one that you just can't let that slide. So I'm hoping Ford fights to keep both of them. Priest, he can go run Xfinity.
Wait, you said there's 2 open FRM?
Because Gilliland's locked, but McDowell's gone. And then they picked up a third charter. So there's 3.
That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about the third charter.
Yeah.
Right. I was thinking.
So
okay.
I want to see Noah go there. And then I want to see, I don't even know. I had an opinion, but I don't remember who it was now. But
Cole Custer? No, I don't know.
There's a rumor, but also Haas is keeping a car now. So now the rumor is that Custer's going in the Haas car. So
and in Cup or Xfinity?
Yeah, in Cup.
Oh,
so the Haas factory team. So yeah, I know.
It didn't work out so well for him. He was just as good as Priest has been. I don't know.
So it's going to be interesting, but I'm curious to see who ends up in that 21 because I think it's going to be one of the most competitive cars. And it sounds like RFK is not doing a third charter this year. So unfortunately, when it comes to favorite Ford teams, 21 is probably the top of the chart. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess my final thoughts were I started thinking about silly season, and it's actually really neat to think about.
It's so silly, bro. I've never seen it this silly this early in the year, but it's silly.
It's wild. Yeah, now that the 19 is was vacant, first domino fell, and yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. I don't know what I expected from Josh Berry or Noah Gragson, but obviously they've done so well that it's like you have to look at them as like top free agents or top drivers, Oh,
I think so.
It's funny to see Chase Briscoe get the first nod at a seat. So I don't know. It's a little weird to me.
100%. Like of drivers that are potentially available, it just, I don't know.
He seems like the third SHR driver these days.
He does.
Am I wrong?
Like,
he's not terrible.
I think Berry and Gragson have been your top SHR guys, to be honest.
I think they have the highest ceiling as drivers, and I don't think that's a hot take. So
I don't think so either. So yeah, no, that's a good final thought. I'll back it up. Go 12. I'm not expecting much, but they're going to squeak out a top 10 like they always do. So go 12. It'll be a good weekend.
Number 1. He got his first win in a road course. He's oddly above. I would say he's above average at road courses, and now that his highest chance of winning one, which was Nashville, is gone, it's like, okay, pressure's mounting, especially with the DNF. So not great for the points.
Got to get into the playoffs, man. Got to make it happen.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Cool.
Good pod, man. Thanks for inviting me on.
Hey, happy to have you back. Got to have you back more often. We'll try to keep proactive with our scheduling to make it happen.
I'm happy to do the whole Kyle Busch Spire truck schedule, eight times a year or something like that. That works for me. Yeah.
I like that. So like every 5 weeks, basically. Like we'll just that's perfect. All right.
Yeah, maybe we'll even do it 2 weekends in a row. You never know. So whatever we're feeling. So.
Does that mean you're going to win every time you come on? I feel like that's the comparison you're making here.
Win every? Oh, I see what you're saying.
All he does is win. Except in the Cup Series.
Yeah, I don't know what to think, man.
That's fair. But happy to have you back, my man. Always a pleasure. And thanks for tuning in, y'all. And we will see you next week. Holla.
Peace.